This is Boxing Tickets NI. We're here at the final press conference with Conlan and Gill. Obviously, firstly, I want to touch straight away, obviously, on Dublin, Eddie. Obviously, I know when we spoke last week, you were saying the atmosphere was going to go up tenfold. I guess you probably wouldn't have imagined that a rematch would even be better than the first fight.
Yeah, and, the atmosphere was better, the fight was better, all the things you hope, and all the things that I spouted off in the build-up, but it delivered. Katie was sensational, both fighters were, but just a throwback performance under the utmost of pressure from Katie Taylor, and the crowd was sensational. Just a real good, feel-good night. I know there was it was a tough week for Ireland as well last week, and I feel like she really lifted the spirits of everyone. She's just, you should be so proud of her, and on we go into 2024. And I kind of feel like when we left Dublin in May, and obviously Mick got knocked out, it was like Irish boxing's done. Now you're coming off a massive week with some big wins for Irish fighters. And now you're coming into another great show in Belfast, and 2024 could be massive for Irish boxing. So, you guys always need Katie and Mick to be winning, and now we've got a nice, north and south. We've got a big headline act in Belfast, big headline act in Dublin, and a lot of emerging fighters coming through as well.
I guess it's the Irish sort of thing. It's never say never, sort of pressure on the line. Obviously, as you say there, both beat the last time. Katie obviously coming in as the underdog. A lot of the media writing her off. Obviously, when Mick is the same. Obviously, he's signed with yourself now, but when Mick, that pressure, maybe that's put the pressure on. That's maybe when you get the best of people.
Yeah, I think for Mick, people kept talking about if Katie loses his career over. I think for Mick Conlan, if he loses, his career is 100% over on Saturday night. We just need to see if the new weight class, the new trainer, gives him that level to say, I'm back and I've got big fights ahead. If he's got dents in the armoury and he's not the same fighter, he could really have his hands full on Saturday night against Jordan Gill. But great card, great night, and yeah, it's a very important night, particularly for Mick Conlan.
Just want to obviously check the microphones working. The last time we done an interview here, 5 or 6 minutes and there was no sound. First card in 6 years. I know he said in the presser 7 years, 6 years, 21st of June, 21st of October 2017. But Belfast's always been a special card over the years. Obviously, Carl Frampton, Ryan Burnett. You go back to Martin Rogan, Paul McCluskey. Is this? I guess it's been bad, sort of match in a way that you haven't been here for 6 years, but there's been a lot of talents come through since. Are you looking forward to seeing some of the new breed of Irish boxers coming through? Yeah,
and also, I think time's gone very quickly. When they said 6 or 7 years, I was like, blimey, has it been that long? And some of our best nights have been in Belfast, and Dublin was a breath of fresh air. But coming back here, especially back to back, it's pretty fun times for Irish boxing. And I think, when I think back to Frampton against Kiko particularly, that felt like a big breakout night at the time. And obviously Ryan Burnett as well. But again, I said at the presser, I remember coming multiple shows at Ulster Hall when I was, 13, 14.
That wasn't yesterday.
No, Damien Denny and, all those nights. And it's always been a fun place. I remember coming here as a kid, excited, we're going to Belfast, It always felt a little bit edgy, but exciting and passionate. And the fans, I knew, these fans are... even back then, my dad would say to me, these fans are lively, mate. Watch the noise in here tonight. And that's what you get every time, and you'll see that on Saturday. And I just feel, if you put a good card together, you get a great response. If you don't, they know. They're very well educated, the Irish fans. And Saturday's a great card. So there's a lot of excitement. The atmosphere will be tremendous. And I think you'll get a great night. And if Mick wins and it's a great night, imagine the momentum you've got moving forward. We're not just talking about Dublin and Belfast, but look at Paddy Donovan. Who's to say he can't headline in Limerick? Something down there, that's the kind of thing that appeals to me. I've never been to Limerick. I have no idea what venues there are. But imagine Paddy Donovan down there in a big fight in Limerick,
There's definitely plenty of good fighters in Limerick as well. There's something I've campaigned a good bit that Limerick obviously hasn't superseded. Sort of Andy Lee's sort of time is there. Obviously Paddy Donovan, his brother Eddie. Jimmy Morrissey obviously who fought from there last week. He'd sell that card out in minutes. Yeah. I guess obviously on the same day you had obviously the presser for Carmen Taylor 2, Lewis Crocker and Tyrone McKenna was made. Battle of Belfast, it was supposed to be the headline. When obviously that day of the press ride sort of asked you, obviously on the signing of Michael Conlan, didn't realise that the talks were ongoing. Was it right to say that obviously you regretted not signing him when he turned pro? It's sort of Bob Arm got one over. Was it sort of, is this like a stopgap you needed from the sort of losing Frampton, obviously Burnett?
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, when we talk about coming to Belfast, you can only do it now with our shows with a big name. And that's why it's important for a lot of fighters on the undercard to put big performances together so that they may be 1 or 2 fights away from headlining themselves. So, when the opportunity, we've spoke to Mick probably at 3 stages in his career about signing with us. But this time everything made sense, especially with the options we've got at 130. If it's Joe Caldina, if it's Lee Wood, if it's Josh Warrington, there's a lot of big fights. But with Mick, you can headline in Belfast, but his fans are going to travel, and you can do something big on the East Coast in America as well. So, he's lucky to have that kind of support. I feel like if he puts a great performance together on Saturday, then people are going to get really excited, and he'll walk himself into a massive fight next.
One obviously speaking Paddy McCrory as well. Obviously, it looks like it's very close to obviously the Balanga fight obviously happening. He was here. Obviously, he was going to have a go at you. And obviously, why it's not been finalised yet. Is that just a case in dates? I think maybe potentially something to do with Conor Ben Eubank fight. Was that holding the decision being made?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we were looking originally at January. It could be pushed back a little bit now, but Padraig's on a list of 4, so he's got a 25% chance of landing the fight. I like the fight. Whenever I can give it to an Irish fighter or an English fighter, it doesn't really matter. I think it's a chance for someone close to home to get the shot. He's exciting. He's unbeaten, and he's ranked with every governing body. Particularly, I think with the WBR, I think he's 3 or something like that. So, I feel like he's earned his shot, and you never know, he could get the call.
I think it was whenever Wood Conlan was happening. I obviously mentioned him obviously too for an opponent for Jack Cullen at the time, and obviously Jack's bounced back there as well. But I guess everybody wants to roll the dice with these big fights.
Yeah. And Belanga's a big roll of the dice, but they may look at him and say, I fancy that fight, And if you beat Belanga, you land a massive name in the division. So if Padraig gets the opportunity, it's a huge one, and I'm sure one that he'd love to take.
Final question from me, obviously the offer. When we spoke last time, the offer for Cacace Cordina was made and it was turned down. Would you like to revisit that, obviously? Because we know you like Irish fighters and you like Mexican fighters, so would you still like to do that fight if maybe it made...
Yeah, I think for Joe, he just wants the biggest fight for the most amount of money. So unless that lands on a Matchroom Queensbury card in Saudi or whatever, which we'd be open to, Joe's going to be looking for the bigger names. I felt like Anthony should have taken that fight. Can't remember the offer, 100 grand, I think it was. I understand that you always want to get as much money and, hit the number that you've got in your mind. But also, if you really believe you can win the fight, you've got to take fights like that. And, at the end of the day, the offer that we made to Cacace was one that was a lot less than was accepted by a number of other people that took the opportunity. One of them was Edward Vasquez, who nearly won the fight. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it was quite a close fight. If he wins that fight, and, on that night, maybe Cacace, would have been better than Vasquez. But I don't know, if you're turning down those opportunities, what have you got lined up? That's what you got to think about. And
I think it worked out then. He was ending up in a non-title fight and then he picked up an injury, so it probably didn't work out too well for him.
No, but good luck to him. You never know.
Definitely. Well, listen, thanks very much for your time. Hopefully the atmosphere delivers in Belfast on Saturday night to make it special after last week in Dublin.
Absolutely. It'd be tough to top, but I know they'll give it a go.
Thanks very much, Eddie. Cheers.